All right, get ready because we're taking a deep dive into the world of bag making today.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, we've got some really interesting insights from Joanne Gray,
Okay.
who, she's a bag making enthusiast, and her guide is just packed with awesome tips.
Cool.
Yeah, think of this deep dive as your like one-stop shop to equip you to make awesome handmade bags.
I'd love that.
Yeah, and no matter what skill level you're at.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we're going to cover everything from the essential tools to the materials you need across a bunch of different categories.
That sounds pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, we're going to really try to cover it all.
Awesome.
So speaking of tools and materials,
Yeah.
I always wondered, do you actually need like a super fancy sewing machine
Oh, that's a good question.
to make, a really nice bag?
Yeah, I think one of the things that really struck me about Joanne's approach is that she really emphasizes starting simple.
Oh,
She advocates for a basic, durable machine
okay.
that can handle heavy fabrics
Gotcha.
and can use different presser feet.
But you don't need all the fancy bells and whistles to create something amazing.
Oh, that's a relief to hear because some of those machines can be pretty intimidating.
Right.
But even with a basic machine, I'm still kind of intimidated by all the different presser feet.
Yeah.
What are some of the essential ones for bag making that Joanne mentions?
Well, she highlights a few key players,
Okay.
starting with the zipper foot.
Okay.
Now, I know that sounds super obvious,
Yeah.
but like mastering zipper insertion is honestly a game changer for bag making.
Oh, for sure.
And she recommends using an invisible zipper foot specifically
Okay.
for a super clean finish, especially for like lined bags
Right.
where you don't want the zipper teeth showing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Invisible zipper foot. Got it.
All right.
I'm taking notes here.
Okay, good.
What else should I add to my shopping list?
Okay, next up is the Teflon foot.
Ooh, Teflon. Okay.
Yeah, so this one is a lifesaver for tackling those really tricky fabrics,
Okay.
like vinyl or leather.
Ooh, yeah, those can be tough.
Yeah, they can be sticky and difficult to feed through a regular foot.
Mm.
The Teflon coating just allows the fabric to glide smoothly under the needle,
Okay.
which helps prevent bunching and those dreaded skip stitches.
Yes, I have had many a skip stitch
I hear that.
in my sewing adventures.
Yeah.
What about those really, really thick fabrics?
Ooh, yeah.
Like when you're sewing multiple layers for a sturdy bag base?
Right.
Any tips for that?
Yeah, that's where the walking foot comes in.
The walking foot, okay.
This handy tool helps feed multiple layers of fabric evenly through the machine.
Oh, okay.
It's especially helpful for like thicker sections like bag gussets or straps.
Gotcha.
And she combines the walking foot with a technique called hammering seams flat.
Wait, hammering seams like with a hammer?
Literally hammering those bulky seams to reduce their thickness.
Wow.
It creates a more professional and less bulky finish.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hammering seams flat. Okay, I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, so we've got our presser feet sorted.
Right.
Now, what about needles and thread?
Oh, yes.
Are there specific types that are best for bag making?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Joanne recommends using a size 1490 or a jeans needle
Okay.
for those heavier fabrics that are commonly used in bags like denim or canvas.
Yeah.
These needles are designed to pierce through thick layers without breaking or bending.
That makes sense. You don't want a needle snapping on you mid-project.
Yeah, that's not fun,
Not fun at all.
especially with thick fabrics.
Yeah. And what about thread?
So for thread, she recommends using a high-quality polyester thread,
Oh.
which is known for its strength and durability. It can withstand the stress and strain that bags often endure,
Right.
preventing those dreaded pop seams.
Yes, no pop seams.
And she actually suggests Gutterman thread specifically,
Okay.
praising its resistance to abrasion and stretching.
Gutterman thread. I'm adding that to my list.
Okay, good.
So we've got our sewing machine prepped with the right needles, thread, and presser feet.
You got it.
What's next?
Well, before you grab those scissors,
Okay.
let's talk about the essential cutting tools that Joanne recommends.
Okay.
You might be surprised that a seam ripper is one of her top picks.
Wait, a seam ripper?
Yeah.
Isn't that for like fixing mistakes?
Well, yes,
Okay.
you're absolutely right.
Right.
Seam rippers are essential for fixing those inevitable sewing blunders.
For sure.
But Joanne emphasizes their importance in creating precise openings for hardware,
Oh, okay.
like zippers and magnetic snaps.
Gotcha.
You can use a seam ripper to carefully open up a seam to insert a zipper
Oh, that's clever.
or create a small opening for a snap.
Okay, so it's all about precision
Exactly.
when it comes to hardware.
Yes.
All right, so seam ripper, got it.
Okay.
Now, what about for the bulk of the cutting?
Right. So, of course, you will need those trusty fabric scissors.
Okay.
Joanne recommends investing in a good pair of large, sharp fabric shears, specifically designed for cutting through heavy-duty fabrics.
Okay.
These are your workhorses
Gotcha.
for making those clean, confident cuts through multiple layers of fabric.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing those large shears aren't ideal for every cutting task.
you are right on the money.
Okay.
So for detailed work like trimming seam allowances, clipping curves,
Yeah.
or snipping threads, you'll want a smaller pair of sharp-pointed scissors.
Gotcha.
These allow for more precision and control, especially when you're working on those intricate details that can make or break a bag's design.
So 2 different types of scissors for different cutting tasks.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what about cutting those perfectly straight lines?
Ooh. Yes.
I've seen those rotary cutters, but I've always been kind of intimidated by them.
I used to be too, honestly. Once you get the hang of them, they're a game changer.
Okay.
Joanne actually recommends using a rotary cutter and self-healing mat combo for cutting out pattern pieces, especially those with long, straight edges.
Gotcha.
It's much faster and more accurate than using scissors.
Oh, wow.
It can save you a lot of time and frustration.
All right, I'm sold. I'm adding those to the list.
Okay, good.
So we've got our fabric shears, our small precision scissors, and our rotary cutter and mat.
You got it.
Is there anything else we need in our cutting arsenal?
Believe it or not, that's pretty much it
Okay.
for the essential cutting tools.
So now we can move on to actually sewing those pieces together.
Well, hold on a second.
Okay.
Before we grab those pieces,
Right.
we need to talk about the tools for marking and measuring.
Oh, right.
A well-constructed bag starts with accurate measurements and markings.
Yeah, you can't have a wonky bag
Exactly.
if you want it to look professional.
Right.
So what are some of Joanne's go-to tools for marking and measuring?
One of her favorites is a simple but effective tool,
Okay.
the fabric marker.
Fabric marker, right.
But not just any fabric marker. She loves those erasable friction pens by Pilot.
Wait, erasable pens for fabric?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
right. You can mark your fabric with confidence, knowing that if you make a mistake or need to adjust a marking, you can simply apply heat with an iron and the ink disappears.
Wow, that's a game changer.
It really is.
I've always been so nervous about making permanent marks
Right.
on my fabric.
No more agonizing.
No more
For a
agonizing.
permanent marker mishaps.
Okay, so fabric markers are a must.
Yes.
What else is on the list?
Another essential tool is a flexible tape measure.
Okay, yeah.
She recommends getting one with both metric and imperial units.
Okay.
So you're covered no matter what type of pattern you're using.
Oh, that's smart.
Right.
Because it can be really frustrating if you have one measurement system on your pattern
Exactly.
and then a different one on your tape measure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, what else?
And finally, to round out your marking and measuring toolkit, you'll need a sturdy ruler. This will come in handy for drawing straight lines, measuring seam allowances,
Right.
ensuring those precise markings that are so crucial in bag making.
Okay, so far so good. I think I'm getting this.
Awesome.
We've got our sewing machine prepped, our cutting tools ready to go, our marking and measuring essentials all set.
Got it.
What's next on our bag making adventure?
Well, before we jump into the actual sewing, we need to talk about one more essential category,
Yes.
pinning and clipping tools.
Okay, so I'm assuming those are for holding the fabric pieces together before you sew them.
You got it.
But I've always seen people using both pins and clips.
Right.
What's the difference? And which ones does Joanne recommend?
Okay, so these tools are all about keeping those fabric pieces in place while you sew,
Yeah,
preventing any unwanted shifting or bunching.
makes sense.
So Joanne emphasizes that good old-fashioned sewing pins are still essential,
Okay.
especially for lighter weight fabrics,
Okay.
but she specifically recommends strong sewing pins rather than the finer quilting pins,
Gotcha.
which tend to bend or break under the weight of heavier fabrics.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So strong sewing pins for general pinning.
exactly.
Yeah, got it.
Now, what about those clips?
Yeah, when are those useful?
So clips are the heroes when you're working with thicker, bulkier fabrics,
Okay.
or when you need to align multiple layers.
Mm-hmm.
Joanne's go-to clips are Wonder clips and binder clips.
Okay.
They provide a stronger grip than pins.
Gotcha.
And they prevent those thicker layers from shifting or bunching up as you sew.
So it sounds like it's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
You got it.
Pins for lighter fabrics, clips for those heavyweights.
Exactly.
You got it.
And believe it or not, that wraps up our discussion on pinning and clipping tools.
All right, we are building up quite the arsenal of bag-making essentials here.
We are.
What's next on Joanne's list of must-haves?
Well, before we move on to the exciting world of hardware and embellishments,
Okay.
there's one crucial step that often gets overlooked, but is essential for achieving a professional-looking bag.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What is it? Ironing.
Learning.
Really?
Absolutely.
Is it that important for bag making?
It really is.
Okay.
Joanne emphasizes that ironing is key to achieving those crisp seams, flat edges, and overall polished look.
Okay.
That sets a handmade bag apart.
So it's all in the details.
It really is.
All right, I'm convinced I will iron my bags.
Good.
What kind of ironing setup does she recommend?
Okay, so a regular steam iron will certainly do the trick for most tasks.
Okay.
But Joanne also recommends having a craft iron on hand.
A craft iron.
Yeah.
Like a little mini iron.
Exactly.
Oh, how cute.
It's perfect for getting into those tight spots.
Okay.
Like the corners of pockets or the edges of appliques.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely adding that to my wish list.
Good.
What else?
Any other ironing essentials we should know about?
Yeah, anything else?
Yes. She stresses the importance of using a pressing cloth
Okay.
to protect delicate fabrics from scorching or damage.
Right, yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it's a simple but effective way to ensure that your fabrics stay pristine throughout the ironing process.
I've definitely had some ironing mishaps,
Oh, I hear that.
so I'm all for any advice that can help me avoid those.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got our irons and our pressing cloth
You got it.
ready to go.
All right.
Now, can we finally talk about hardware?
You bet we can.
Okay, good, because that's the fun part.
It is.
What are some of the must-have hardware pieces that she recommends?
Okay, well, she kicks things off by highlighting two key players for bag closures,
Okay.
magnetic snaps and twist locks.
I love both of
They're
those.
both great.
Twist locks have such a cool vintage vibe,
Yes.
and magnetic snaps are so sleek and discreet.
Yeah.
So when do you use which?
Okay, so she recommends twist locks for bags that need a really secure closure
Okay.
and can handle a bit more bulk,
Mm,
like totes or satchels.
right.
Magnetic snaps, on the other hand, are perfect for those bags where you want a more subtle closure, like clutches or wallets.
Okay, so it's all about matching
Yeah.
the closure to the style
Exactly.
of the bag.
Exactly.
Okay, so beyond closures,
Yes.
what other hardware is there?
She highlights another hardware hero, the mighty rivet.
Rivets. I usually associate those with jeans and leather jackets.
Right.
How are they used in bag making?
Oh, you'd be surprised how versatile they are.
Okay.
Joanne uses rivets for everything.
Wow.
From securing pockets
Oh,
to
okay.
joining thick layers of fabric
Mm-hmm.
to reinforcing stress points
Wow.
and even to solving those pesky sewing problems.
Oh, wow. They really are multi-purpose.
They really are.
What kind of rivets does she recommend?
She prefers double cap rivets,
Double cap rivets. Okay.
which have a smooth, rounded finish on both sides,
Gotcha.
making them perfect for bags where you don't want any rough edges.
Right. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, she also advises investing in a good quality rivet setter.
Rivet setter.
Yes,
Got it.
to ensure that those rivets are securely fastened.
Okay, so double cap rivets and a rivet setter. Noted.
Good.
What other hardware essentials does she recommend?
She emphasizes the importance of grommets,
Oh, grommets. Okay.
those metal rings that reinforce holes in fabric,
Right.
especially where straps or handles are attached.
Yeah.
They prevent those areas from tearing or fraying,
Right.
adding durability and longevity to your bag.
That's such a good point. I've had so many bags where the straps just start to pull away from
Yeah.
the fabric.
Exactly.
So grommets would definitely prevent that.
They would.
Okay, good to know.
And while we're on the topic of protecting our bags,
Yes.
Joanne also recommends using bag feet.
Bag feet, okay.
Those little metal or plastic studs
Right.
that you often see on the bottom of bags.
Yes. I've always wondered what those were called.
Bag feet.
Bag feet. Okay, what do they do?
So they serve a couple of important functions.
Okay.
First, they protect the bottom of the bag from dirt and moisture,
Oh, that's good.
especially when you set it down on the ground. And secondly, they elevate the bag slightly, which improves air circulation and prevents the fabric from getting scuffed or scratched.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah,
So they're both practical and stylish.
they are.
I love those.
Me too.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, so Joanne also mentions strap anchors,
Okay.
which are metal pieces that reinforce the points where the straps or handles are attached to the bag.
Right.
They provide extra strength and support, especially for heavier bags, and they can also add a nice decorative touch.
Strap anchors, got it.
Okay, good.
Anything else?
Last but not least, she talks about bag labels.
Oh, bag labels, yeah.
Which can be both decorative and functional.
Right.
They can add a personal touch to your creations.
I love that, like a little signature on your bag.
Exactly. Or they could even include care instructions.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our closures, our rivets, our grommets, our bag feet, strap anchors, and our labels.
Wow.
That's a pretty impressive hardware collection.
Quite the collection.
I know.
And believe it or not,
What?
that covers our deep dive into the essential hardware for bag making.
Amazing. I'm feeling so much more prepared to tackle a bag-making project now.
Awesome.
We've covered sewing machines, cutting tools, marking and measuring tools,
We have.
pinning and clipping tools, ironing essentials, and now hardware.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey. What's next on our list of must-have bag-making goodies?
Well, now that we've covered the hardware, it's time to talk about the glue that holds it all together.
Ooh, literally.
Literally.
Okay, let's dive into the world of adhesives and finishes.
All right, let's do it.
What kind of adhesives does Joanne recommend?
Okay, so she starts by highlighting the importance of a strong, reliable fabric glue,
Okay.
specifically for attaching bag bodies to frames.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you need a super strong bond for that.
You do.
So what's her go-to glue for this?
Yeah, what does she use?
She swears by Gutterman HT2 Creative.
Gutterman, again.
Yes.
Okay.
She says it's the best she's found. Wow.
For creating a permanent, durable bond between fabric and bag frames.
Gutterman HT2 Creative. Noted.
All right.
Now, what about for those applications where you might need a bit more flexibility?
Right.
Like when you're positioning interfacing.
Oh, yeah, that can be tricky.
It can.
She has a great tip for that.
Okay.
She recommends using a repositionable spray adhesive
Oh, that's clever.
for those tricky interfacing applications.
Okay.
It allows you to adjust the placement, if needed, before it sets permanently.
That's brilliant. I've definitely had my share of interfacing struggles, so I'm all for any tips
Yes.
that can help make that process easier.
Absolutely.
Actually, speaking of interfacing, can you remind me what exactly interfacing is
Oh, sure.
and why it's so important for bag making?
Yeah, so interfacing is a fabric that you fuse or sew to the wrong side of your fabric
Okay.
to add structure, stability, and body.
Gotcha.
It's essential for bag making because it helps those bags hold their shape
Right.
and prevents them from becoming floppy or flimsy. So it's like the backbone of the bag.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Good.
So moving on from interfacing,
Yes.
what else is there?
Joanne also highlights the importance of fray check.
Ah, yes. Fray check.
Those raw edges of fabric
Yeah.
that tend to fray.
Yeah, those pesky little threads.
Exactly.
Fray check is like magic in a bottle.
It really is. And Joanne actually shared a story about a time when fray check saved one of her projects
Oh, no way.
from disaster.
Oh, dear.
She had accidentally cut a piece of fabric too short,
Oh, no.
and the raw edge was right on a prominent seam.
Oh.
She thought she'd have to start the whole piece over. But
Right.
then she remembered her trusty fray check.
Oh, good.
She applied a thin layer to that raw edge, and it completely stabilized the fabric,
Wow.
preventing it from fraying any further.
Amazing. It's a miracle worker.
It really is.
So she was able to continue with her project, and you couldn't even tell that there had been a near disaster.
It's amazing how such a small tool can make such a big difference.
It is.
So,
So in the adhesives and finishes category,
Yes.
are we done?
almost, finally,
Okay.
Joanne mentions the importance of sealants,
Sealants.
especially for bags made from delicate materials like leather or suede.
Right. Yeah, those can be tricky.
Yeah.
What do sealants do?
Okay, so they create a protective barrier that repels water, stains, and dirt,
Oh, that's good.
helping to keep those bags looking their best
Okay.
and extending their lifespan.
So it's like adding a layer of armor to your bag,
Exactly.
protecting it from the elements
Yes.
and everyday wear and tear.
Exactly.
Okay, so that wraps up adhesives and finishes.
It does.
We've covered so much ground already,
I know.
from sewing machines to cutting tools, marking and measuring tools, pinning and clipping tools, ironing essentials,
Yes.
and adhesives and finishes. It's amazing how much goes into making a well-constructed bag.
It really is.
So what's next on our bag-making adventure?
Okay, well, now that we've covered the basic tools and materials, it's time to step into the realm of specialty tools.
Specialty tools, okay? I like where this is going.
Yeah, these are the tools that can really elevate your bag making skills.
Okay.
And make certain tasks so much easier and more efficient.
I'm all for easier and more efficient.
Yes.
What are some of these specialty tools?
Okay, so she starts by highlighting awls and bodkins
Balls and bodkins.
as incredibly helpful tools
Okay.
for guiding thick fabric through sewing machines
Right.
and placing cords and ribbons.
Now, I'm familiar with needles, but what are awls and bodkins?
All right, so an awl is a pointed tool
Okay.
that's used for piercing holes in leather or fabric.
Okay.
It's often used to create starter holes for sewing
Right.
or to help guide thick fabric through the sewing machine.
Makes sense.
A bodkin, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
is a long, narrow tool with a blunt end
Okay.
that's used for threading elastic or cording through casings.
So they're both about guiding and maneuvering materials in precise ways.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see how those would be really helpful.
Yeah.
What other specialty tools does Joanne mention?
She highlights rivet setters and hole punches
Okay.
as essential for adding hardware like grommets and rivets.
Right, because you need specific tools for those to
Exactly.
get them on there properly.
Yeah, rivet setters are used to secure rivets in place,
Mm-hmm.
and hole punches create perfectly sized holes for grommets.
Oh,
They're both essential for achieving a professional-looking and durable finish.
okay. We're getting into the nitty-gritty now.
We are.
What else is on her list?
She finishes up by mentioning screwdrivers and pliers
Yeah, of course.
as essential for setting up and adjusting hardware.
You can't do a bag-making project without those.
No, not really.
Those are essential
Yeah.
for everything.
They're everything.
From tightening screws to adjusting snaps,
Mm-hmm.
I think we've officially covered every tool imaginable.
We just might have.
At this point,
But that's the beauty of Joanne's guide.
what is it?
She leaves no stone unturned when it comes to equipping you with the knowledge and tools
Wow.
to create amazing bags.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of bag making
I'm glad.
and all the tools and techniques involved.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey
It has.
through the world of bag making,
I know.
exploring everything from those basic essentials to those specialized tools that can take your creations to the next level.
And it's all been presented in such an approachable way.
Yeah,
I feel like even if I'd never even picked up a needle and thread before,
right.
I could tackle one of these projects.
That's great.
Yeah, so thank you.
Absolutely. I think Joanne's passion for the craft is contagious.
It is.
And her guidance makes it clear that anyone can create beautiful and functional bags
Yeah,
with the right tools and a bit of patience.
I love that message.
It's interesting how Joanne talks about those specialty tools, like awls and bodkins. She doesn't see them as like strictly advanced tools,
Okay.
but rather as tools that can make bag making much easier, regardless of skill level.
You're right. It's like she's encouraging us to think of them as stepping stones, not hurdles.
Exactly.
And she even calls them like indicative of a pro approach,
I love that.
which it's like a subtle nudge to elevate our craft, even if we're beginners.
It is, and it's fascinating to me how she doesn't just list these tools.
Yeah.
She really dives into the why behind them.
Okay.
Like, for example, she talks about how an awl can be a lifesaver
Mhm.
when you're working with thick layers of fabric, like
Exactly.
those found in a bag's gusset.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to wrestle those layers through the sewing machine
Yeah.
can be a nightmare.
It can.
But an awl helps create a clean, precise hole
Okay.
for the needle to pass through,
Gotcha.
preventing skipped stitches and broken needles.
That's such a practical tip.
Yeah.
I definitely had those moments of frustration, like trying to sew
Oh, for sure.
through those thick layers.
Totally.
I could see how an awl would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And speaking of thick layers, what about rivets?
Yes.
Do you need any special tools for those?
Absolutely. So while you could technically hammer in a rivet,
Okay.
Joanne strongly advises against it.
Really?
Yeah, she recommends using a rivet setter
Okay.
for a more secure and professional finish.
Gotcha.
It ensures that the rivet is evenly set
Okay.
and doesn't damage the fabric.
Rivet setter. Got it.
Okay.
Now, what about grommets?
Ooh, grommets.
Those always seem a bit intimidating to me.
They can be tricky,
Yeah.
but Joanne has a great tip for making the process easier.
Okay.
She recommends using a hole punch specifically designed for grommets.
Okay.
It creates a perfectly sized hole, making the installation a breeze.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
What's that?
The right tools really do make all the difference.
They absolutely do.
Okay.
And that brings us to those all-purpose tools
Okay.
that no bag maker should be without.
All right. Lay it on me.
Screwdrivers and pliers.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You can't tackle a bag-making project without those.
No, they're essential for everything.
They are.
From tightening screws on hardware to adjusting snaps, making sure everything is secure.
It's interesting to think about these specialty tools
Yeah.
in the context of Joanne's overall philosophy.
Okay.
She's all about encouraging creativity and
Mhm.
experimentation,
Right.
but she also emphasizes the importance of having the right tools
Yeah.
to execute those ideas effectively.
That's a really good point. It's a reminder that good tools
Yeah.
aren't just about making the process easier.
Right.
They're about empowering us to create high-quality,
Yeah.
professional-looking bags.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the key takeaways from
Yeah.
this whole deep dive.
What is it?
Joanne has provided us with an incredible roadmap,
Okay.
not just of tools and materials, but of a mindset. She's shown us that with the right approach, anyone can create beautiful, functional bags.
I love that it's not just about the what, but also the how
Exactly.
and the why behind it all.
Exactly. And you know what really struck me about Joanne's guide?
What's that?
It's not just a list of tools and instructions.
Okay.
It's filled with those little aha moments.
Yeah.
Those practical tips and tricks that can make all the difference in the world.
You're right, like hammering the seams flat,
Yes,
or
exactly.
using an awl for thick layers.
Exactly.
Those little nuggets of wisdom can really elevate our bag-making game.
They can, and I think that's what makes this deep dive
Yeah.
so valuable for our listeners. We're not just giving them a shopping list. We're sharing those insider tips and techniques that can transform their bag-making experience.
I love that. This is incredible.
It is.
I feel like I've learned so much
Me too.
on this deep dive,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to put all this knowledge into practice.
Me too. And it's interesting to think about how this deep dive has evolved.
Oh, how so?
We started by focusing on the essential tools and materials.
Yeah.
But as we've delved deeper,
Yeah.
we've also explored those more nuanced aspects of bag making, those subtle details that can make a huge difference in the final product.
You're so right. It's been a journey.
It has.
Not just through the practical steps of bag making,
Yeah.
but also through the mindset and the creative spirit that drives this craft.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this so engaging for our listeners.
Right.
It's not just a dry technical breakdown.
Yeah.
It's an exploration of a craft
Yeah.
that's filled with creativity, passion, and a sense of accomplishment.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So before we move on
Yeah.
to the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to address our listeners directly.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But remember, this is just the beginning of your bag-making journey.
It is.
The most important thing is to have fun, experiment, and let your creativity guide you.
I love that.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way.
Oh, for sure.
Those mistakes are often the best learning opportunities
Absolutely.
and can lead to some of the most unique and beautiful creations.
So true.
So are you ready to dive into the final part
You bet I am.
of our deep dive?
I can't wait to see what other gems of wisdom
Yeah.
Joanne has to share with us. It's interesting, thinking about Joanne's guide.
Yeah.
It's not just about, like, the technical how-to.
Right.
It's more about the heart and soul of bag making.
Totally. She weaves in so much inspiration and encouragement
Yeah.
alongside all the practical stuff.
It's like she's saying, hey, I'm here to guide you, but ultimately it's your creativity that brings these bags to life.
And I love that she doesn't dictate a specific style.
Right.
She really wants you to find your own voice.
It's like she gives you the tools,
Yeah.
the knowledge, and then she steps back and says, okay, now go make something amazing
Exactly.
that reflects you.
Embrace your individuality.
Yeah.
Celebrate what makes your creations unique.
And speaking of unique,
Yeah.
I've always loved the idea of using unique materials
Oh, me too.
and embellishments.
Yeah.
Does Joanne talk about that at all?
She does. She has a whole section
Okay.
on exploring different materials and embellishments
Cool.
beyond the basics.
Like what?
She encourages us to think outside the box
wait.
and consider using unconventional materials like recycled fabrics,
Cool.
vintage textiles,
Ooh.
or even found objects.
Found objects? What, like
Yeah, exactly.
buttons and stuff?
Buttons, maybe a cool piece of driftwood.
Oh, wow.
It's about seeing the potential in those everyday things and transforming them into something beautiful.
It's like taking those basic bag making skills we talked about
Yeah,
and then adding these personal touches
exactly.
to really make a bag your own.
And it brings us back to that theme of empowerment that we've talked about throughout this deep dive.
It's about going from consumer to creator,
Exactly.
taking those raw materials and shaping them
Yes.
into something that's totally you.
It's so rewarding
It
when
is.
you finish a bag and
Yeah.
you know you poured your heart and soul into it.
There's nothing quite like it.
There really is.
It's that sense of pride of knowing you made something beautiful and functional.
With your own two hands.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something you just can't get with a store-bought bag.
No, there's magic in the handmade.
There really is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway we want our listeners to remember?
I think it's this. Bag making is more than just a craft.
Hmm.
It's an expression of creativity,
Yeah.
a journey of discovery,
Yeah,
and a celebration of individuality.
I love that. And for our listeners who are feeling inspired,
Yes.
where can they find Joanne's guide?
You can find it on her website, which is website address.
Awesome. And I know she has a great online community.
She does,
Stop it.
filled with other bag makers.
So whether you're a beginner or a pro,
Mm-hmm.
there's a place for you
Absolutely.
to learn and grow.
And remember, the most important thing is to have fun.
Yes.
Enjoy the process.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yes.
Experiment.
Let your imagination run wild.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
I feel so inspired.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us
Of course.
on this journey into the world of bag making.
Absolutely.
Until next time,
Yeah.
happy crafting.